This is Liam Heery, who recently undertook the ARC transatlantic yacht race, and he's here to tell us a little bit of his experiences, which will hopefully help you in developing your project plan. So, Liam, first question, why did you do it?
Why did I do it? I suppose it's one of those things that became an opportunity of a lifetime that just arose.
All right. So, all the planning that went into doing this, tell us a little bit of where do you actually start?
Well, the start point was the idea. So first of all, we want to sail across the Atlantic. Then you go from there and you work out how you're going to do it, and the how becomes in what. In Kevin's case, my brother, that meant sourcing a boat that he felt comfortable that would be able to do it in, and so he went on a search a number of years earlier to find the boat that he felt comfortable that he would be able to do it in, which he found. And
so he'd actually planned this. It wasn't just that he got the boat and then said,
yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, he had another boat which he sailed and raced in all of the time. Came up with the idea, but the boat that he had was not suitable. So then it was a case of finding one that would fit the job. So that was found, and at the same time, of course, before he then went and bought that, it was a case of, well, if I do this, am I going to have enough crew as well to come along with me? So at the same time as getting the boat, he had to be sure that he was going to have the crew to sail it as well. So that was found as well at the same time. And that was probably about 2 years prior to the event. So it took 2 years then from the point of finding the boat to actually setting off and sailing.
All right, and in those 2 years, what were the key planning things?
The key planning points in those 2 years was, again, starting off with the boat, making sure that the boat was capable and making any adjustments to the boat that might be required. And that's taking into factor the sail plan that you might have, the number of sails, the type of sails, the rigging for those sails. Then after that, of course, then you start getting into other types of things, and everything has a secondary use or a backup system for everything that you have. So if you lose your rudder, you have to have a backup system. If you lose your engine, you have to have a backup system, etc., etc. Similarly with water. So there was a number of issues that were critical on the list. So you started off with sails, then steerage, radio communications, and water, and they became the key focus of other than sailing experience and safety, of course, as well, which was all part of it. But they were the key aspects, I suppose.
Right. And with the sailing experience, did the crew work together regularly?
They would have in Ireland. Given I'm out here in Australia, it was a little bit difficult for me, so most of my input became input through emails and making suggestions or whatever that might come up after they were having meetings about what they were doing in progress. Each of us also had probably a particular role that we might have had in the exercise. In my case, I was involved in navigation or emergency navigation, so I did a course in ocean navigation to supplement as being the backup system if the electronic navigation systems failed. So that was one of the things that I did. The other guys had different roles. One was responsible for sales, another was responsible for safety, another was responsible for provisioning, another was responsible for navigation and electronics. So we all each had our own input to the whole project and roles that we undertook.
Right, and were these based on people's prior interests?
Yeah, more than, yeah. It was a case of prior interest and just what fell naturally to particular people, yeah. And I suppose in terms of crew selection, from Kevin's point of view, he would have selected people that he knew were going to have those specialties, as it were, so that we all fitted together and had the right mix of things. Yeah. So
Right.
crew selection is probably a very critical aspect of the whole thing.
Yeah, so it wasn't just, oh, let's get a whole bunch of friends
No.
together, let's get the people who will get
Yeah.
the job done.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Some of the other aspects of planning that may not be obvious up front, but that would have to be thought about would be things like, how do you get the boat to the starting point and how do you get it back?
Yeah, well, that all became part of the delivery of the boat. So when I talk of delivery, it's both the delivery of the boat from when it was purchased, which was in the Mediterranean, back to Ireland, and then from Ireland back down to the Canaries for the start of the event. So there was kind of two legs to that phase, and the in-between of that was then when the boat got fitted out in Ireland for all of the additional things that we put on board. And in that delivery, some of the crew were involved in those delivery legs. Some of them were not. Obviously, I wasn't. And some of the things that we were doing on the boat were trialled in each of those delivery legs as well. And they became quite important in terms of testing out the boat to see what its capabilities were.
All right. So
Yeah.
And the getting the boat back?
Getting it back has become a little bit problematic. Obviously you sail it across one way, then what do you do with it? People do a number of things when they do the crossing. Some people sail back again, some people carry on and sail around the world. Other people stay in the Caribbean for quite some time and maybe then come back later on, or other people sell the boat and from there as being a setup for ocean-going boats as well. Kevin, his plan was to leave it in the Caribbean for a few months and to possibly get some chartering on it to help defray costs, and then to ship it back to England. That posed some difficulty in that the shipping company at the last minute told him the ship was no longer available to sail, and so he's now looking for an alternative means of getting it back.
Yeah, so one of the risks that could always happen. Any other risks that you had thought about beforehand? Or?
Well, the main risk, of course, is from a safety point of view, is the boat going down, and what you do in that event. And we all were trained in sea safety and survival. We all had done a sea safety and survival course in preparation for the trip. Other than that, it just becomes normal sailing type events, and any emergencies you handle along the way. I don't know that there's really anything other than that. Medically, I mean, we had to have, again, there was somebody responsible for first aid, and we had to know about everybody's individual medical requirements and any special things. One of the guys had just had a heart problem and had a stent put in. So it was before we left, we sort of had made a decision amongst ourselves whether or not we would let him come or not. I suppose we all came up with the same decision, which was good, which was that he could come, and if he was going to die, well, he was going to die. That was it.
Good to have friends.
Yeah. Well, he'd have a burial at sea, so he would have been happy. In my case, I have an allergy that I get occasionally, and so I had to bring special medication and EpiPens and things of that nature. And that was probably the two of us were probably the ones that had needed any special types thing. But they're the type of emergencies you have to cater for and cope with.
Okay. For the rest, it would be making sure your backup systems are in place.
That's correct.
Your food, you have enough food and water on board.
Yeah. And everything that you do, you have, as you say, you have a backup system for it. Yeah.
All right. Just thinking through the costs for this, you mentioned Kevin wanted to try and charter maybe to defray some of the costs. How much, outside of buying the boat, just to participate in the event?
I think it's cost him to fit out the boat, entry fees and all the rest of it. I think cost something like about 50,000 euros. So it's an expensive exercise. Some people, and maybe he would like to think that when you sell the boat, if you're going to sell it at the end of the event, you recover some of that investment in the boat through an increased sale price because of what it is that you now include in the boat that wasn't in it beforehand. That remains to be seen.
All right.
Yeah. Individually, costs involved are obviously airfares, getting to the location, time off work, all the preparation for it, equipment, personal equipment, and of course then the sharing of food costs and all the rest of that. I really don't know what it's cost me. I don't really want to think about it, but it was, you know, it's probably somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 if you were to add up everything that went into it.
Right. So it's not something that you do as a career. It's because you're passionate about it, and because
it's a one, as I said, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity generally, and it's, I think, most of us that went on board and did it on that basis, that you've got an opportunity that you might never ever get again, so it was worthwhile.
So would you recommend for people who don't normally sail that if they had the opportunity they should jump at it? Or?
If people don't normally sail, they would need to get some good sailing experience up front first. First of all, to know that they're going to like sailing, and secondly, to be familiar working around a yacht, and all that entails in terms of safety and just working with sails and the wind, and the sea, knowing what the sea can do to you. But once you get to that point, then certainly, if you're into it, then you jump at the opportunity if you could do it. Most people would, I think, that I know.
And if you had to do it all over again?
Oh yeah, do it again. Yeah.
Did you do any? Cool. Liam, thank you very much for your time and for sharing some of your experiences. I'm sure it will be of great value to the students. So thank you.
You're welcome.